Good morning, everyone. My name is Prateek, and I am from IXR Labs. We are into VR for higher education, and I welcome you all to our webinar, Unlocking Student Success with Predictive Analytics. And I am joined with Dr. Rene Robin, and so he is the Professor and Dean Innovation at Sri Sai Ram Engineering College. Welcome, sir, to the webinar.
Good morning, sir.
So, just want to begin the webinar by talking about your education journey and anything that you would like to highlight about your college.
Good morning to all. This is Dr. Rene Robin, Dean Innovation, Sai Ram Engineering College and group of institutions. Basically, I'm a professor of computer science engineering. I started my career in Anna University in 2000. I've been there for 5 years as the computer programmer, and I moved to Jerusalem College of Engineering in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in the year 2006 as lecturer and promoted as the assistant professor, associate dean, joint director for affiliation, approval, and accreditation. So where in Jerusalem, when I was working there, I have did a research on predictive analytics, how to improve the academic performance of the engineering institution, especially higher education institution. That was out of my interest. I did to improve, and I got tremendous result when I applied this predictive model. That helped a lot for the holistic development of the students. And in 2020, I have moved. I've been there in Jerusalem for 15 years. Then I moved to Sri Sai Ram Group of Institution as the Dean Innovation to taking care of the innovation activities. Here I'm doing work on design and development of the innovation ecosystem to encourage students in line with the NEP 2020. And even the started reaping the results of whatever we are talking about outcome-based education. The real outcomes are we have started reaping through this innovation ecosystem. A brief introduction about me.
Thank you for the introduction. So, since we're talking about predictive analytics, can you tell or enlighten our audience about what is predictive analytics and why do you think it's the need of the hour in the higher education now?
Even predictive analytics is predominantly wherein everywhere, even if you want to buy a small product, based on the predictive, based on the reviews we are buying, and every market, every business is now depends on predictive analytics. Earlier, we are depending on the only availability. Now, sitting in a place, we could see the reviews of the even international customers and the views of other customers, how this product is very much useful for them. So when in a commercialization, we are all living in a commercialization world. It may be any sector, health sector or educational system, any sector, the commercialization plays a vital role. So we cannot escape it from it. So predictive analytics predominantly be a part of our life. So we, the academicians, are dedicated to serve for higher education institutions. It's the right time to think about predictive analytics with respect to the student admission and the performance of the students, as well as the holistic development of the students. So every academician, every higher education institution must focus on predictive analytics, because the world is everything happening around us is unpredictable, and even uncertainty, everywhere uncertainty is there. So better to move from AI based to predictive analytics. That will definitely help us to improve our performance, improve our business, and improve the our lifestyle. So
Okay, sir. So basically, when we cannot deny the fact that there's a kind of a mounting pressure when it comes to, from the lawmakers, it could be from the institution, it could be from the public, when it comes to the learning outcome of these students, right? So, what kind of challenges and the solutions that you can highlight when it comes to implementing predictive analytics in the higher education? And you can give some examples of your own college as well.
Yeah. So normally, the college student success is a major issue in government and policy circles. So there is no doubt at all. And the improving students' academic performance play an important role in education institutions because every institution's growth and their sustainability is purely dependent upon the performance of the students. And the next challenge is the data. So the data in education institutions is increasing periodically, and which can be used to predict the performance of the students in the upcoming semesters. So the next challenge is the classification of students and clustering the students. And we are normally, every institutions, even tier 1 institution or tier 2 institution, tier 3 institutions, we are dealing with heterogeneous students. We cannot expect all the students are the same, all the students are in the same knowledge level. So this is another predominant challenge every institution is facing. And the next thing is, when the institutions are categorized into tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, the identifying the strategy, we cannot follow an unique strategy for all the institutions. Tier 1 institution has to adopt a separate strategy. Tier 2 institution and tier 3 institutions has to develop their own strategy. So these are all the challenges normally faced by the institutions.
Okay. So basically, I was just going through one of the case studies where, I think in one of the case, and that was on predictive analytics in higher education. And as you just said that, it is not necessarily that, all students have equal intelligent question. And when it comes to learner, there are different types of learners. One, it could be kinesthetic learner, one could be an auditory learner, right? And then there could be a visual learner. So when it comes to predictive analytics, so what kind of models do you think are well suited for individual learners? So do we need like a different models for different individuals, or a one model can work for all kind of learners?
Definitely no, sir. Single model cannot work for the work when we deal this heterogeneous uh, group. At the same time, I cannot frame unique or separate strategies for every student. So that is what we are going for, clustering the students. We need to cluster the students, and we have to have some kind of the grouping strategies or techniques where we can cluster. The cluster which I have proposed, I have successfully done, is I have clustered into three categories. The normally in any education institution, starting from school to higher education institutions, we can categorize into three categories. Normally, the 15% of students will be very bright students, and the rest of the bottom up 15% of students will be maybe the low performer, and most of the students will lie in between this, the group 1 and group 3. So we need to go categorize or the cluster the students very broadly, not for a single strategy for single student. And if you group them, otherwise we do not have more manpower. Even the education institutions are working with a limited manpower. The same way, we have to consider that also when you apply or when you propose any predictive model. We have to consider the manpower and the resources in terms of human resources and infrastructure resources. So we cannot go for, it is not advisable to categorize or more than three groups. So better the optimal number of group is three groups.
Okay, sir. So basically, when it comes to predictive analytics, one area is that the institutions, they collect the data, right? And on the other hand, after collecting the data, the second step would be to make informed institutional decisions. So when you talk about the informed institutional decisions, so what kind of solutions do you think? What's the process of doing that, and what are the data metrics that you, as an educator, look into when it comes to implementing predictive analytics?
Well, sir. Well, the right question. Normally, we deal with the personal data, And the personal data alone is not sufficient for predictive analytics. We have to consider the social, psychological, and other environmental barriers, other variables for the predictive analytics. So in addition that, we need to consider the student's background, knowledge about the knowledge level of the students, and proficiency in attending the questions and ability to complete the examination in time. These are all playing vital role. And also the student enter their demographical area. So sometimes this rural people and the urban people, the single strategy cannot work out, and we need to consider the demographical area, also the gender and the past performance uh, in the SSLC or 10th standard and plus 2 result, and even we need to consider the address and contact number. So these are all the various parameters an educator must consider when we propose any predictive model for higher education institutions.
Okay, sir. So I'll just quickly take a few seconds to address the attendees. So whosoever has joined, so if you have any questions, you can just drop it in the Q&A section, and we will definitely answer those. So basically, now we are talking about the data metrics that we need to capture. But my next question is, how do you ensure the ethical standpoint when it comes to capturing the data so that it's not mishandled? So anything that you would like to highlight when it comes to the ethics of predictive analytics?
Okay, and the when we collect all this data, we must understand one thing, that we are all academicians. We are all academicians, pure academicians, and our highest priority should be ethics. And we are not doing any business, but in the way it may support the education institutions and the bonus, but the executors are the academicians. When the executors are collecting the data, I strongly believe that the academician will not misuse the data. And it is purely for the educational research, and it must be a part of every educator's research. So when we talk about research, we normally do that. I'm expert in AI. I will do some analysis model, and normally we focus. We forget about our real time, or the what is needed for the local, and we do all these algorithms. We use all the techniques for somebody's problem proposed by somebody in somewhere, taking a solution in a journal and trying to solve and devoting our entire life for that without knowing the who is going to use it. When we have this much of data in an education institution, I always say that you have to take the real-time data. These are the data available with us, and it must be your research. Every educator has to take it as their personal issue, because coming to education institution from the sitting from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock is alone not our job, and teaching alone is not our profession. And if you want to uh, play a vital role in the holistic development of students, every educator, every teacher must become a researcher, and for the benefit of the local. The immediate reach is the students, and I strongly believe that the educators and will not misuse and will give top priority for the ethics.
Thank you, sir. Those were some great points. So, sir, like let's say I just would like to come back to types of learners. So, as we were talking about, so I specifically I would like to talk about those students who are at risk. So, if a student who is struggling with a subject and he is not able to comprehend a concept, and over here, what kind of interventions do you think would be applicable to him? And which you as an educator would suggest so that he boost his learning?
Yeah, sir, in my experience in the predictive analytics for higher education institution, which I have proposed in the year 2016, I have been implementing successfully for next 3 to 4 years. I got tremendous result. See, numerically, I can say that from 49% to I have attained 75%. From 49 to 75%, systematically, scientifically, I have proved it with the help of this predictive model. And the observation is most of the students, nearly 60% of the students will always be in the cat on the wall category. So anything will happen if any kind of extra pressure is on them. Sometimes they may pass by their luck, or they may fail, and it will drastically affect the performance of institutions. I have done a small research and identified that around 60% of students are the vulnerable students. And if you give a small push, possibility for them to clear the subject. That the major concern to do all this work as an academician, I would like to say that, parents are paying, all the parents are paying equal fee. And all the students are coming to college every day. Maybe the knowledge level may be little less, because we need to admit we are living in a democratic country, and for the past 75 years we are maintaining the democracy in the global arena, and successfully our leaders are maintaining the democracy. And when this is a scenario, and this is a small subset, a classroom is a small subset, that kind of the heterogeneity will be there, and we need to provide the democracy. And whatever benefits an education institutions bringing, it must reach to every student. And a small push is required for those students to clear their subject. So if they clear their subject, only they can think about the next level of getting a placement, or they're creating the confidence level, or if they wanted to do their higher studies. Everything's rely on the pass percentage of passing, or the performance of the students. So it is a responsibility of the educator, it's the responsibility of higher education institutions. A minimum level of push is always required. So my predictive analytics model, which I have proposed and successfully implemented, has given the guarantee. Even the students are still giving the testimony that time we felt very hard, sir, but we are realizing now that because of your external pressure, we could able to clear the subject, and because of that, we got the confidence, and we have got good placement, and we have settled in our life now. So even that kind of, sometimes, suppose if the institution not doing it, realization will take, it may delay. So we are not giving that gap, even that gap during this period of 4 years, for what they have joined for an education institutions, it will be fulfilled if a predictive analytics model is being applied in education institutions.
Great, sir. Great. So, basically, we have been talking about student side, but I would like to talk about a little bit about the on the educator side. So, for example, if you see, when it comes to predictive analytics, and this syncs with the question that I asked earlier about how to implement predictive analytics. So, what kind of training do you think an educator should have when it comes to implementing predictive analytics in classroom? Uh, so, any kind of what kind of training do you think should require an educator should require, or the decision maker should require to implement predictive analytics?
The first thing is mindset and the concern towards the students. And educators must think about that it is, as I mentioned earlier, it is not our job, is not just coming and teaching and going. We have to do a small kind of research, and we need to be very prepared of any kind of changes. I mean, I have faced some kind of challenges that when I clustered the students and made some kind of classification, some kind of hesitation come from even the faculty members, because I wanted to go that class also, that class. Why you are changing me from this class to that class? The basic questions, as if they think that they are born to teach only that particular class. Even it's very temporary. They will be with the students only for 1 semester, maybe 6 months. The mindset is very important. And I always give an example, life example to the faculty, especially lady faculty members. And I say that, see, just think about your marriage. You have been with your parents, and simply one day you started adopting with your in-laws family and in-laws house. So when it is possible, why don't you apply it here? So you can change your class at any time. You have changed even the home, your house, and your entire lifestyle. So why it is not possible? And majority of the faculty members are lady faculty members. So if we give this kind of example, they will easily understand it, and will convince very easily. And educators have to think about a lot of things, and not one thing they have to realize that they are not the only teacher, mere teacher, they are mentors. And they have to transform from the teaching learning to learning teaching. Learning teaching, a teacher must learn always. We, even as our education system is always talking about teaching learning process, teaching learning process. Actually, this process is not teaching learning, it's learning teaching. And if you understand that this is learning teaching, then teachers will definitely, or the educators will definitely prepare to learn any kind of situation. And continuous updation of knowledge is very important, very important. So, and as I said, willing to handle any kind of groups. Give me any kind of group, I will handle it. It's a challenge. It is not only my the producing the outcome or the result, 100% result. Even if it is less than, I will bear it. I will devote my time for the low performer students. I will contribute myself for the upliftment of uh, this group.
That's yes,
Hopefully, I
I
have
think
answered your
you
question.
yes, I think you clearly highlighted that it's what is really important is the mindset, and when it comes to emerging technologies, so and the end goal is to enhance the learning outcome of the student. So it's all about the mindset. So great. So one more question that I have is that we have been, although the webinar talks about the predictive analytics, what will, and that's something which is quite futuristic. So you have, and there are two more terms that I would want you to enlighten the audience about, and that's descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics, which is something which is prior to the predictive analytics and descriptive analytics. Can you highlight more about these two phases, and should a student go through these two models as well, and then we can have a can visualize the future trend as to what will happen with the student. So, and anything that you would like to highlight on these two prior models?
What models you are saying?
So basically, I want you to talk about the two other models, which is the descriptive analytics and one is the diagnostic analytics. So the importance of these two analytics compared to predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics. Anything that you would like to highlight on these two analytics as well?
Okay, so we have to consider the other metrics also. So direct assessment and indirect assessments are there when you talk about the outcome-based education. So we normally focus on the students' work and the comprehensive exams and the standardization, normal test, and their performance in the online certification and their project work and external examiners reviews and all. In addition that, we need to consider the departmental survey and the as recommended in outcome-based education, exit interview, survey of the current students, and students of the survey of the faculty members, individual faculty members, alumni survey, employee survey. And these are all some other parameters, other metrics. So that will definitely help you for the descriptive analytics. And these two models complement these two models, I think. I believe on this.
Okay, sir. So I was just going through one the LinkedIn post on virtual reality. I think that was like a training, training post for educators, I believe. So, sir, now I want to talk to you about, the integration of these two the emerging technology, which is the virtual reality with predictive analytics. So, sir, how do you see both the technologies coming together to boost the learning outcome of a student?
When we talk about the normal opinion about AR, VR, and the mixed reality, we think that it is for gaming. And even most of the students are thinking that, okay, AR, VR, and MR, it's all for gaming. And it is not alone for gaming. And if you mixed with artificial intelligence, you could reap lot of things. And these technologies have not only for empowered the gaming world, but also to corporate landscape to be immersed in this world. So they're analyzing large amount of data in virtual AR, VR provides business greater scale. So that has to, because our conversation started with the commercialization. So we have to think about beyond the gaming and other things. See, if AR/VR is integrated with artificial intelligence, the wonders will happen, and the education institution is not exempted from this.
Okay. So is there anything that you can highlight when it comes to, as you mentioned, that there are some, like there can be some wonders that can happen when we integrate VR with predictive analytics. Anything that you like to highlight from, and you can take your example from your college as well, or something that your team is actually building on when it comes to the integration of VR and predictive analytics. So what kind of the wonders do you see? Anything that you would like to highlight in
We
terms
are
of
just,
metrics? Yeah.
yeah. Even before 2 to 3 years, we are not aware of even the metaverse. Even we are thinking about the spaces available in our surroundings, but the wonders are started happening. So metaverse and the other things are giving, they are open the way for the researchers and the students to think beyond. So the definitely these are all possible. And as a dean innovation, when I do some kind of hackathon, and when I give an opportunity for the students for realize and bring their own ideas, even it is all something beyond our imaginary. Students are started bringing lot of applications. So these are all showing that students are started thinking out of box. And earlier the exposure very limited, now the exposures are huge, and everywhere even students are very much knowledgeable and content, full of content than the faculty members. So these are all an example that anything will happen. I cannot say that this is the wonder is going to happen nearby, and I cannot limit the wonders are going to happen in the near future, and it is all something beyond our expectation. So it's a time to just trigger them and reaping the benefits.
So before we wrap the webinar, I just have one question. So how do you see the use of predictive analytics getting evolved in the upcoming years, and any trends that you would like to highlight?
That is the right question, and I need more time to talk about it, because as a dean innovation, I always predict that what is going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years. I have a clear model, strategies, everything in my hand for education. Even if you ask me to be a consultant for the entire nation, I am ready for that, because that kind of vision I have for the higher education institutions. With these technologies, we are the curriculum and the education system should not restrict us. So the freedom has to given to higher education institutions to go high. And the first thing is that we are all living in with the educational ecosystem, the conventional education ecosystem. The time has come to migrate from conventional education system to innovation education system. And I advocate that every education institution must come up with their own educational innovation ecosystem based on their capability and their strength, their positive and negatives. Okay, I cannot say that because of as looking at tier one institutions and saying that I want to do the same thing in my institution. No, it won't work out, because we are a democratic country. We are dealing with heterogeneous people. We cannot copy any model. We can have a benchmark. We can keep that as a benchmark and a reference. But every education institution has to sit together, spend more time to develop their own innovation ecosystem. This is my first thing. I'm just without the unique innovation ecosystem, education institution cannot survive in the future, sustain in the future. So this is what my first prediction. And higher education system must come up with a sustainable product. When I was looking the talk given by, I was reading the talk given by the first president, honorable president of Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, in 1956, when he was addressing IIT Kharagpur during the first convocation. He was mentioned a visionary that I was really stunned the way the speech was written. And it was with the education institution. We are looking on the education institutions. and these institutions will meet the need of the country. And this is one of his expectation. I just ask, even educators are available in this forum, are we really justifying his statement? Are we developing products? Products are coming from higher education institutions. Really, the products are coming from higher education institutions. For engineering education has been introduced in India. The great vision, these institutions will meet the need of the country. But even for a small things we are importing from other countries, and our MSMEs is not much strong and education. So there must be integration between the education institutions, policymakers, and and it is directly connected to the economy of country. And we cannot achieve the $5 trillion economy in 2025 without considering education institution. Even if you take the government of Tamil Nadu, our honorable CM is talking about $1 trillion economy to be reached by 2030. I strongly advocating that without considering education institution, it is not at all possible. And this is what my prediction, second prediction. And the third prediction is the education institution must work with local panchayat. But we cannot, it's all different dots, and there must be an interface between the education institution and the local panchayat. And the institution must adopt the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals are there. These are all effective tools given very systematically to all the education institutions must adopt sustainable development goals. And I strongly advocate this, the education institution must inject the immersion program in the mind of the first year students. Don't wait till the final year. Our education system is recommending to think about their product development the final year. I strongly advocating that that will not work out. That is what the fading, the main cause for the fading of engineering education is students are thinking about their development project in the final year. That will not work out, because when a student is coming to final year, they are under higher pressure of getting a job, clearing their areas and other things. The product development concept must be injected in the first year, and if you inject it, definitely we can expect more. And critical thinking and design thinking we totally forget, and it must be a part of the curriculum. And the competition based learning model must be encouraged. We are all familiar with the project based learning model, project based learning model. We have to create a healthy competition among the, this is a better way of engaging the students. So we must create education. And last but not least, we have NEP 2020 now, and every institutions are committed for implementing NEP 2020. There are some areas for debatable. We are not talking about that. We can debate it. But one central point is every education institution is committed for the holistic development of the students. So if the institutions are committed and work towards the holistic development of the student, that institution will sustain. Last but not least, I want to tell you that don't leave your culture, integrate your culture and technology. And if you embed both your culture and technology, and nobody will beat us.
Thank you, sir. That those were some great points. So we'll just see if any educators have questions. So attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the Q&A box. And also there is a link that you will see. We are committed. IXR Labs is basically committed towards building a group of educators to come together, and this is this is via for higher education. And we believe that and as sir said, that what is really important is to build a mindset of educators. And so that is the goal that we are also moving ahead with. And so we just see if we have any questions. And okay, So I think we can wrap it up. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for such an insightful session on predictive analytics. And I'm sure educators and everyone must have learned a new thing from you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the thank you for coming to the webinar.
Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to express my views uh, with respect to the higher education.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.